Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Forecast. Hard to believe we're up to episode 26 this week. We are missing Mr. Appleby, but we have a special guest. Steve Caporizzo agreed to join us today so that I wasn't just talking by myself the whole episode.
I know, it's going to be big shoes to fill with Kevin not here. But, you know, when you were discussing what the topic may be, Rob, it was like, yeah, it was a long time ago, but I remember it.
Well, we're coming up, obviously, this weekend. We're going to be talking about the Mechanicville Tornado from 1998. So, obviously, major weather event here in the capital region because it wasn't just one tornado. We'll talk more about that.
Yep.
We're what, 26 years, 28 years? 2 more years.
Plus 12, 38 years?
38 years. No.
28 years.
I'm like, wait a second. I was born in the early 90s.
Bring Kevin back here. We need Kevin.
So let's
let's
go over the rundown here. So obviously we have a special guest, Steve Caporizzo. Probably should have shown that one first. We're basically just focusing on the Mechanicville Tornado today because you were here.
It was
you have firsthand knowledge.
You know, when you're in the business a long time, there are 3 or 4 weather events, Rob, that you'll always you're going to go through the same thing that you'll always remember.
I already have one. That was the Schaghticoke and Stillwater tornadoes that I did on the weekend. So
there's only a handful.
Yep.
And this is pretty much top of the list.
I can imagine. Well, and then off topic a little bit right now, but there was the Duanesburg. That was a big one.
The Duanesburg tornado I was here for. The Great Barrington tornadoes on one of the top of the list. Irene, obviously, is, I think, for me, number 1.
Yep.
And the blizzard of 93. Those are probably my top 5. Mm-hmm. Hard to put them in order. I would say Irene, number 1.
Because it was so widespread impacts with that, right?
And it killed a lot of people, and it was a 500-year flood in the Schoharie Valley. Mm-hmm. Mechanicville, to me, is right there with Great Barrington, 2, 3, and Blizzard of 93 is right up there as well. So, yeah, so this was, in my career here, and even going back to the mid-'80s when I started, this is right near the top of the list. Mm.
So we're going to have the first-hand account.
Yeah, it's a day of...
And that's important because, obviously, I wasn't here. Mm-hmm. Kevin wasn't born yet.
Shouldn't throw him under the bus.
But it's one of those things where you hear about it, you could see pictures, you could see video, but to actually be there had to be...
Yeah, you know what it comes down to, Rob? You're right, and we'll talk more about this. Yep. I was working that day. It was a Sunday. Mm-hmm. We were here doing a telethon, and I knew it was going to be a bad weather day. So I was one of the hosts.
Okay. And then you quickly shifted gears there.
And we'll talk about that.
Yep.
I was scared. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that doesn't happen a lot because it's only certain, because I feel the same way with the Stillwater Schaghticoke tornado. I wasn't scared for myself, but when the warning starts coming in and it's saying, hey, there is a tornado on the ground, that's when things change a little bit, We
don't get a lot of them,
Yep.
and this tornado was big. Mm-hmm. Winds, and we'll go over that,
yep.
but you knew it had the potential of killing and injuring a lot of people. It was hitting a populated area. A lot of these tornadoes we get, fortunately,
thankfully, yes,
are in sparsely populated areas. We were talking about the Schoharie tornado of '89, which is one of the biggest ones ever
in New York State.
Yeah, and it went across Schoharie County, very rural farm country. Thank goodness.
Still damage, but thankfully it's not hitting where there's a ton of people.
This, on the other hand, the Mechanicville was heading right for a populated area.
All right. Well, with that, let's see if the clicker works. Sometimes we have issues with this, so there we go. So this is the map of the Storm Prediction Center, their convective outlook for the day. You usually hear us talk about marginal, slight.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get enhanced here. Now it's what, 5? I think it's 5. In the 90s, it only had 4.
Right.
There was general, slight, moderate, and high.
High was very rare, and you told me something earlier today that may be the only time we've ever had a high risk.
Yeah, so I've got some notes here from the Weather Service. So on May 31st, the Albany National Weather Service forecast area was placed in a high risk for severe weather. That was the first time it ever happened, and it was the last time it's ever happened. So, but obviously at that time, that was the highest we could go. Now they've kind of restructured it a little bit. So
Right.
I don't know if we've had a moderate risk here or not. Probably.
I think we've had moderate. I think we've even maybe had enhanced.
Enhanced, yes, because that's 3. And
Yeah,
then
I
it
don't
goes
know.
moderate, then high.
I think
I think
remember
immoderate.
But we
those
haven't-
are rare, but we haven't had a high since.
Yeah, that was it's kind of a weird day. I remember getting up that morning, Rob, and it was not a day you would say this is a thunderstorm breeding day.
Yeah.
It was cloudy. It was kind of cool and humid, and then all of a sudden, midday, early afternoon, a warm
You just had a
front was-
trigger.
It busted out, and the dew points got up near 70, and we had the trigger. You're right.
Yep.
We had a trigger. We had the front coming in from the west, and we had a warm front. And we were like right where the two meet, and that's where the most instability was.
And helicity.
Spin, yeah.
Based on the notes that I'm seeing here, the Weather Service issued a special weather statement Sunday morning at 10:17, emphasizing the event with a follow-up statement at noon, highlighting that this is a very dangerous situation. This would be the second large severe weather event in 3 days. You guys were hit by severe weather. You were telling me about that hail.
Yeah.
May 29th, so just a couple of days before.
Yeah, we
So-
had, it's funny, you look back at it, we just got the storm tracker radar 1 week prior to this. One
Talk
week.
about timing.
Nobody else had, now all the stations in Albany have it, but we were the first ones to have it, and we were learning how to use it. And the Friday before, there was a big severe weather outbreak with hail, big hail. So we got our feet wet. We were just learning the technology, and we had used it, practiced with it, tried to figure out how to use this unbelievable radar at the time because nobody had it around here. And it was perfect timing. We had it for the big hailstorm.
Thankfully, you had it. You may not have fully known how to use it, but at least you had it to show.
The tracks.
Yes.
The thing that was amazing, everybody says, well, how'd you get the name Storm Tracker? Because it's a great name. Because it showed you the track of the storms. And up till that point, we didn't have that capability. So we had this radar for 1 week, and then I don't even know if we had a name for it back then. I think we just said, here's
The
Doppler radar.
yeah.
Right. And then after that weekend, with the storm tracking, I said, we're going to call this Storm Tracker radar.
Yeah, why not?
And it has stuck. We've never changed it. Other stations have changed the name of their radar 3-4 times, but that's exactly what our radar does. It tracks the storms.
And this is a little more of a diagram of what you were saying. We were right where I hate to say that you needed to be for tornadoes, but really, you had the southerly wind up the Hudson Valley, looks like a southwest flow as well, and then you had a squall line moving into that almost spin. You had that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word helicity, spin. The technology back then was so archaic compared to what we have today. And this comes from experience back then. You knew, Rob, with that setup, and especially along with the confluence of the Hudson and Mohawk River, that is kind of a hot spot for some of the words.
Southern Saratoga, Rensselaer County.
Northern Rensselaer, Southern Washington. And it's because of this diagram. You have a south flow, and then behind it more southwest and sometimes west, and that initiates
anything that gets into that environment would have the ability to rotate.
Yes, low level. And it has to be low level.
Yes.
A lot of storms spin up high.
And we see that a lot on the radar. When we're looking at storms, especially at far away from the radar beam, where it's like, okay, there's rotation at 5,000 feet. Is it reaching the ground? And that's where it gets kind of convoluted or a little more difficult to know exactly what's going on.
You have to have ground confirmation. This one was fairly close to the radar. So when you saw, back then we would look at hook echoes, and our storm tracker radar showed that little cone of rotation. And you knew because it was close to the radar, this thing is already close to the ground.
Yep.
And the confidence was fairly high that there was a tornado with this.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the Scotticoke-Stillwater one. That had a hook. Obviously, our technology is a little bit better now. So that was picking up cylinders and skits as well. So, I mean, that's when you know that, something's not good. This was a radar image. I think we said this was 427, I think.
Yeah, 426, 27.
I should have drawn on this. I didn't. But if you look...
You can find Albany, first of all. Find where, and then look just to the north.
Just to the north, right along the Northway there, right?
Yeah.
Where that little hook...
Yeah, there's a hook in there, and that is just after it hit Mechanicville. And then that tracked all the way, and we'll show the track of this, but it tracked all the way into Vermont. The thing that was interesting, Rob, with this is if you could go back like 2 or 3, maybe 4 scans before this, and every scan back then was about 7 minutes. So you were always waiting for the scans. You could actually see 2 thunderstorms merging. We call that cell mergers. One was coming out of Montgomery County, and I remember it was coming out of Amsterdam, crossing into, I think, Galway, heading for Round Lake, and then it merged with another storm that was already setting up on the Hudson River. And that's when sometimes they take energy from each other.
Yeah, they'll kind of fall apart, but sometimes if they hit at the right
speed,
direction and speed. Yeah, exactly.
The storm literally blew up.
Yep.
And that's when the first signs, I believe that's when a tornado warning was issued around Round Lake.
Well, and it's funny because I'm reading this from the Weather Service. Obviously, 1998, the warning process could take a lot longer than it did now. Because it basically says the forecaster that was on duty at the Weather Service had to manually type out the warning after the warning decision was made. So it could take a long time for warnings to be issued back then. Now they're almost like that.
Instantaneous. Yeah, I mean, now automation has helped. And plus, we have so many sources to get warnings. Back then, basically, radio and TV, Rob.
Yep.
You didn't have all this internet stuff and social media.
And then the immediate on your phone now, where if there is a tornado warning, your phones are going nuts.
It goes crazy on you.
This is an aerial view of, I guess...
Mechanicville.
I'm assuming it's Mechanicville.
That's Vial Hill, I believe. I think it's Vial Hill. This is where the tornado... I was up there a few days afterwards, Rob, and the people saw it coming. And you mentioned that it looked like the Midwest, and I know
we'll show you. Yeah, we've got video of that. We'll show you.
The thing is the tornado was coming up, I believe, from left... Trying to look at I can't get the. I think from.
I can't tell because there's some areas that are almost untouched. It looks like.
I think right to left it was coming from.
Okay.
And this was the top of a hill in Mechanicville, so it took the full brunt of the tornado. And these were some new constructions, brick houses that were leveled, and that's where they come up with. They look at the damage.
Yep.
And that's how they kind of come up with that estimate on winds.
And that's all it is. It's just an estimate. There's no way to actually record that. People don't understand that. This is
every tree was flat.
It's technology, obviously, 1990s.
Yeah, but every tree's flat.
It's flattened, and you can almost see there is a little bit of a
spin
with the trees laying down. So that's also indicative of, obviously, a tornado. Some of the video, we're going to show you that after the first break, but I do want to show you... If my clicker works, here it is. So this is the track of the Mechanicville tornado itself. So right around just north of Clifton Park, Round Lake.
Yeah.
It was rated F3.
Right. We didn't have the enhanced Vegeta.
Yep. But a 30.5-mile length, discontinuous. There was a little brief period where
there was a couple of skips, but even where it skipped a little bit, Rob, there was still damage.
It's unbelievable.
And that was, I remember, Johnsonville. Basically, it tracked right along Route 67 in northern Rensselaer County. There was a tremendous amount of damage. And then it kind of lifted, I believe, just east of Bennington as it was going up into the mountains. It kind of fell apart a little bit. But that is unusual in itself to be that long of a duration of a tornado.
And the width.
Yeah.
970 yards. That's that for here.
It's about as big as they get.
That's big, you know.
Yeah, it's most of our tornadoes, we were joking around 50 yards, 100 yards.
Yep.
200 yards would be big around here, but yeah, 900.
Thankfully, nobody was killed, surprisingly.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I think there were 65 to 70 people injured, most of them around Stillwater and Mechanicville. I believe one person actually did die from a heart attack.
Okay.
So is that directly?
Yeah.
It could be, you know, so you always say, is that maybe they wouldn't have died if there wasn't a tornado. It could have been worse.
Yep.
The damage, what was the damage on that, Rob?
71 million.
Yeah, 70.
In today's dollars.
You could triple that. And that's that. And don't forget, northern Rensselaer County is sparsely populated.
It just happened to hit
Mechanicville, Stillwater.
Yep. And that wasn't the only tornado. This image here, I'm going to take this up full so you guys can actually see it. There were 3 in our area. Obviously, the Mechanicville one was the strongest. Looks like an EF1. You said near the airport.
Is that a 1 there, the green?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that was on the north runway, and I'll talk about that because that one had me worried. That was a small, short duration. There was one in southern
And then an
Rensselaer.
F2 in, southern Rensselaer County.
So there were 3 here, but don't forget, we had not only the damage from those, Rob.
But the 2 days before, too.
The hail.
And then you had wind.
We had straight line winds with this. We had hail with this. Yeah, it was.
And then you look at Binghamton. We thought we had a long one here.
I think that was 50 some odd miles.
Looking at the length there, and that was an F3 too. So that was probably
and again
a very intense.
Luckily, sparsely populated.
Yes.
Very lucky again. Oof. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen this chart. This is.
I wanted to show this because obviously things have changed since this tornado. Back then, F was the Vegeta scale was what you would go off of, and it's based on damage. So an F3 was 158 to 206. When I looked up, it did say for this tornado, they did say it was rated around 200 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think looking at the damage from some of those well-constructed homes and some of the vehicles were actually twisted. You could conservatively say 200-mile-per-hour winds.
A strong EF4.
Yeah.
With the enhanced. So.
Yeah. It would be right. It would be, when you think about it, EF4, borderline EF5, which is like the big ones in the Midwest that you hear.
Well, with how big it was, too, know.
Yeah, it was a Midwestern type
tornado. It was.
It really was.
All right, so we're going to go to a quick break. We have video when we come back. And while the video is playing, maybe we'll talk a little about, what was going on here.
It's a day I'll never, like I said, Rob, it's a day I will never forget. It's near the top of the list for me.
We'll have that coming up. Don't go away. And welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Obviously, we kind of talked about the setup. We've talked about the wind speeds. Now, we're going to show you some video from that day. Obviously, this is archived video. Obviously, Steve, you were here forecasting for this. Not forecasting, but you were.
I was here.
You were here.
I mean, look at the damage.
And I think you went out and actually surveyed afterwards.
Yeah, the next day I went out. You couldn't even get up there. There was so many emergency vehicles, and the governor was in town. The governor was up there, National Guard. You didn't want to get in the way of search and rescue. There were people that were trapped in homes. Because some of these homes, I met a gentleman and his wife that were trapped in a beautiful brick house that had collapsed on them. And the neighbors came and rescued them, or they might have died.
Yeah.
But you look at the damage, Rob. Looks like the Midwest.
It does. Look at this truck. This truck is flipped. You look at some. I think the video here is replaying again. But you look at some of the trees. They're debarked.
Yeah.
Like that. That's a strong tornado. That's a very strong tornado.
We were doing the Children's Miracle Network telethon that day. I think I got in around 10 o'clock. I was one of the hosts. I enjoyed doing that, and we had.
You had to know leading up that there was a possibility.
I told the producers of the show, the telethon, that there's a high likelihood of severe weather. Now, you're raising money for a great cause, and that back then I think it was probably $1.5 million, $2 million for the Children's Hospital. And I remember it was early afternoon and started seeing stuff on the radar, and I kept telling them, I'm very concerned. I'm very, very concerned. Something bad's going to happen.
Yep.
How bad, you didn't know. It was probably 3 o'clock, and it was coming out of Montgomery County, and I could see it taking on rotation. And I said, and I was doing cut-ins, so we'd be doing the telethon, and then they would throw it back to me, and here I am dressed for a telethon, and I kept talking about the radar, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And then it was like just after 3 o'clock, I said, guys, we have to stop the telethon. We have to stop it.
Well, for your safety. Obviously, the tornado at the airport, not far from here.
Well, right. That was a frightening thing. But I said, we have to go continuous.
And that too. Yep.
And then we went continuous. The telethon was canceled at that point. We had so many people here, the anchors, reporters.
That normally wouldn't have happened on a weekend.
So we were like the first ones that had coverage up there because we had everybody here. I remember going on the air. It's funny how certain things you remember. And it might have been like 3:30. And I said, tornado warning in effect. The parts of Saratoga, southern Washington, northern Rensselaer County. And we put the storm track on that, like we do today.
Yep.
You track with the times. And I was mentioning the towns along the path. And I said, if you live in Mechanicville, I specifically remember this, if you live in Mechanicville, Stillwater, take shelter now. And I'm yelling it.
Yep.
And that's unlike me. People say I'm sometimes the voice of reason. I go, get to the basement, get to the basement. It's coming right towards you.
Well, with something like this, you can't mess around, know.
You're right. And I said it was going to hit based on our storm track at 4 o'clock. I think we got an email, or maybe it was in the newspaper. It might have been in the Times-Union. And they mentioned Channel 10's coverage. And the person in Mechanicville, when they asked them, what time did the clock stop? And they said 4:05. They lost power, and the clock that they had in their home stopped at 4:05. That was the power of that radar. So many people contacted Channel 10, News 10, saying we saved their lives because of that technology we had.
And we take it so much for granted now with the technology that we do have. Obviously, with my own experience with the tornadoes that we have seen around here since I've been here, the technology is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, almost unmatched, I want to say, because it starts to pick up, hey, there's a cylinder, like you say, and that's showing you where there's rotation. And every time we've had a tornado, it matches up pretty good with that.
Yeah,
I remember when I was doing my tornado coverage, I was right down to the street view. I don't know if you had that capability in the 90s, but
I think we did, but the scans were not as quick as they are now.
Yeah.
Back then, the scans were like every 6 to 7 minutes.
Yep.
Today, they can turn off the volume scan and keep it in the low level so it can be up like a minute.
Yep, every minute.
So sometimes you do street levels,
Yep.
and it's already past that street, or it might have been by 5 minutes ago. So we didn't do a lot of street level then because we knew it was like 5 or 6 minutes old. We were more focused on where's it going in the next 5 or 10 minutes.
But, and you bring up a good point. People calling or emailing or sending mail, to the station saying that they, you saved their lives. I can kind of say the same thing. Obviously, not the same strength of a storm.
Yeah.
But people had stopped me even 2-3 years after that and said,
remember.
hey, thank you so much, because that was when you mentioned the street that's right down the road from us, so little things like that you just don't think about when you're in the coverage.
No, you're exactly right. And your voice becomes the most important voice out there.
If you sound panicked, people are going to start panicking.
Well, and you have to be assertive.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when, okay, we're not sure. It could be, it might be, radar indicated. But then there are the few instances where it's a confirmed
Somebody's
tornado.
seen it, or there's damage, or there's,
Getting reports from state police or sheriffs.
Yep.
We had a building full of people here. We had all the phone banks were in the studio. We probably had 100 people in this building. And you mentioned that tornado that was up on the north end of the airport. It's much weaker. I remember as soon as I did the Mechanicville update, I was nervous for people in the building. I was a little bit scared because we knew something was happening close to Albany at the time. So now you're focused on something maybe hitting Latham, Colony, Albany.
More populated.
So I started running around the building. I remember I left my desk. I said, I'll be back. I think I was on the air, and I said, we can take a short break. I don't even know what we went to. And I ran around the building. I was telling people, get away from the windows. Get away from the windows. Everybody get in. If there's anybody outside, get in the building. Get in. Go to the basement. But get away from glass. So we had people lined up in this hallway up here. And that little tornado on the north end of the runway, we had an outflow from that. Now, we didn't get hit by the tornado, but we had winds. Again, it's hard for me, but I'm going to say 50 to 60 miles per hour from the back of the building to the front of the building that faces Northern Boulevard. Mm-hmm. And it was racing on both sides of the building, 50 to 60 miles per hour, causing what they call the Bernoulli effect, like a little low pressure on the back of the building. Rob, you could see the windows doing this. They were bowing out. I thought they were going to pop out.
Yeah.
Pop out towards Northern Boulevard. They weren't going to go into the building. They were going to go out because of the wind screaming.
Yep.
And we don't have a lot of windows in the back of the building, fortunately, or there would have been windows blown in with people here. So that's what I remember. It was like scary, and obviously we stayed all night long and kind of it did wall-to-wall coverage. I remember Governor Pataki. Mm-hmm. Again, we had the best coverage. Came on Channel 10 for an hour talking about what the state's going to do to help people. Mm-hmm. He sat in the studio when we were talking, and he thanked Channel 10 for their unbelievable coverage. Mm-hmm. It's a day it's one of the top
5 that you
top 5 storms that I'll always remember in my career of meteorology.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. Sometimes I wish we had more time for this show because we could talk forever. Yeah. Honestly, we really could talk forever about this. But next week, we'll be talking about El Nino, what it means for summer. I've done a little bit of research on that. Kevin should be back as well, although we'd love to have you again.
Are you going to talk about what it means for hurricanes too and tropical storms?
We'll probably mention on it. I know a lot of folks have been asking what it means for our summer here locally.
Yeah.
And based on a little bit of research that I've done, I don't want to give too much away, but
wait till next week.
Exactly. So, Steve, thanks for coming in for this.
My pleasure, Rob. Thank you for having me.
And maybe we'll have you on when Kevin's here. Maybe we'll do a three for
that would be pretty cool, actually.
Any big weather events coming up.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for coming in, and we will see you guys next week on Beyond the Forecast. Have a great weekend.